starting with parasitic plants. What is the meaning of parasite? Any living organism which survives on another living organism. Please, get this proper here. Here, the key word is surviving or living on another living organism. Right? So here, there are two parties to it. There are two participants. One is the host, on which it survives, on which it lives, and the other is the parasite. In this case, this is a classic example of Cuscuta plant. So here, this is the parasite. So, Karthik, yes, you're right. Parasitism can also be found in case of animals. For example, helminths. What is the meaning of helminths? Helminths means ringworms, hookworms, roundworms that are there in the stomach of human beings. Mothers or parents say,
Ma'am,
yes, Anna?
are the parasitic plants are they dangerous? Of course, they are dangerous, but are they poisonous?
See, it depends from the plant. It depends from plant to plant. Most of the times, they are not poisonous, but they are dangerous to an extent that it covers the entire host plant and it spreads at a very very rapid pace. Because the kind of nutrition it draws from the host, it in no time it grows. It grows very fast. So it needs to be checked. The growth of the parasitic plant needs to be controlled. It needs to be cut from time to time. It needs to be pruned from time to time. Right? It is harmful in the sense we will discuss about it in what way is it harmful. But yeah, as Karthik was saying, parasitism can also be seen in animals. As I was saying, the worms that live inside our stomach, right? They are parasites. They get into our stomach through food. When we eat food with dirty hands, unclean hands, so it gets into our digestive tract and settles down in our gut. And then what it does is that all the food that we eat, the worm eats that food. So the hookworm or the pinworm or the roundworm survives on the food that we eat. So what happens is that we get less nutrition. Most of the nutrition goes to the parasites that stays within us, the worm, the hookworm, right? So
Ma'am,
yes, Priscilla?
then if it is taking all the nutrients, so we can be malnutritionist.
Yes, Priscilla, there you go. It doesn't take all the nutrition, but it takes most of the nutrition and it grows very fast. Maybe in a few days it can grow from 1 to 10. In the next 1 week it can grow from 10 to 30. So if it grows very fast, then that is what happens. You will find children with huge pot belly, and people might think they eat a lot, but actually they are malnourished. The stomach is full of worms, right? So that's the reason why deworming has to be done. Right from children to elders, everybody should do deworming, right, to get rid of these parasites. So parasites, though we are discussing nutrition in plants today, but I just gave you an example of human beings to understand what are parasites. Basically, they live on other living organisms. Correct? Karthik, what do you have to say? Virtually all humans of protozoa living in on the body at some time. Yes, correct. Yes, true. Yes, even lice on children head or hair, that is also a parasite. The lice and the ticks found on dogs, pet animals. It sucks the blood, and the food from the fur, from the coat of the dogs, and it's very irritating. It keeps on itching. The dogs, are they get irritated by the ticks. So that's parasite. Okay. Now getting back to nutrition in plants. So what the parasitic plant does here is that, it clings on to the host plant, and, it develops little, very tiny roots, which are known as these hostoria. Hostoria, kindly mark this word. Hostoria is a special structure that it develops to draw all the nutrition that this host plant makes. This host plant absorbs water, draws sunlight, does photosynthesis, does all the hard work. And what does this Cuscuta do? It draws all the nutrition towards itself, and it grows hale and hearty and grows at a very very rapid pace. Correct? So they, now parasitic plants many a times could be completely a parasitic or partially parasitic? We can discuss about this. How come, this is maybe under parasitic plants, you can draw a flowchart writing A, complete parasitic plant, B, partial parasitic plants, mode of nutrition. Yes, Hostoria. Hostoria is a special structure, a small root-like extension that this Cuscuta plant would make to draw all the nutrition from the, for example, I'm just telling this is the branch of a banyan tree, the host, the main plant, the main tree. Now what the Cuscuta does, first of all, entwines the entire banyan tree. And then what it does, the Cuscuta, say, little fine thread-like structures called Hostoria would come and cling into the banyan tree and suck all the nutrition through that Hostoria. Right? Pushpal, animals could also be parasitic, plants could also be parasitics. That's what I discussed. Parasitism can be found in both animals as well as plants, right? So under parasitic plants, I hope all of you have written complete parasitic plants and partial parasitic plants. Okay, now just to give you a few examples, one is Cuscuta plant, which in English, the scientific name is Cuscuta. We call it in layman's language as dodder. Mistletoe is a very commonly found, parasitic plant. Rafflesia, as many of you have said, Rafflesia is also a parasitic plant, and red rattle, which is rarely found but is a parasitic plant. Okay, Pushpal, Priscilla, we are diverting into nutrition on animals, but let's get back to nutrition on plants. Okay, I hope parasitism is, I hope parasitic plants, parasitic mode of nutrition is clear to all. Any doubts, please shoot a question.
Ma'am?
Yes?
Cuscuta, is it on any specific plant or it can be found on any plant?
Cuscuta plant is mainly found on, trees, mainly on trees and hugely built shrubs, right? Because, it grows, as I said, it grows very fast. So it requires a huge number of nutrition for its fast growth. So mainly
Okay,
it looks
ma'am.
for robust, wherever it, wherever it can lay its hand on, wherever it gets nutrition, it does grow. It's a very, it's a highly adaptable plant. You must have, I'm sure you must have seen Cuscuta plant. I'll just show you, so this is a Cuscuta plant. Yellow color thread-like structure. You will say, it looks like a noodle, a bowl full of noodles. See how it has engulfed an entire tree. You can't see the tree. What you can see is only Cuscuta threads. It is harmful. Why I said harmful? Because you can't see the main plant. Where are the leaves? If, for example, if this was a mango tree, it would have drawn all the nutrition from the mango tree. The tree would have hardly given any mangoes. Hardly. So if this was an agricultural tree meant for agriculture, for making money, the farmer would have planted this. Just imagine the way the Cuscuta has engulfed the entire tree. This would have led to a loss.
Mama, I have a doubt.
Yes, please tell me.
Mama, how do the parasitic plants grow like Cuscuta? Like, how did it come on the tree itself?
So, somewhere or the other, it must have, grown. So there must have been a Cuscuta plant around. So what it does is that, for example, if this is a tree and, there is another neighboring tree here. So, just a fine thread-like structure could just go to the neighboring tree and then start growing at a rapid pace over there. So it grows from, one tree to the other and it engulfs the entire neighboring area. For example, this is a shrub, this is a shrub kind of a thing, a bushy area. So it is easy to engulf the entire bushy area. You will find in no time, in a few weeks time, the entire area has turned yellow. This is how aggressive, a Cuscuta plant is. It is very commonly seen, especially if you go to, a little suburban areas. This is a very common sight over there.
Ma'am?
Correct? Yes.
Do they have any seeds? Like, do they have any seeds or do they go through spores or how do they reproduce?
I'm not sure about their mode of reproduction, Priscilla. I'll have to get back to you on that. Let me, make a note of it. In our next class, I'm sure I'll get back to you on that.
Okay,
Right?
ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Because, one thing, if you have marked, they do not have any leaves, right? They do not have any leaves. They are yellow in color. That means they do not have chlorophyll. They cannot make their own food. Karthik, Cuscuta is not harmful for humans. No, they're just, related to plants and a little harmful to plants to an extent that it overshadows them, it overgrows them. Yeah. So, so they do not have a bit of chlorophyll in them. As I said, they are yellow in color, so they can't make their own food. That's the reason why they have to be dependent on any tree which has got green leaves, right? That is the reason why. mm, See, this is what I was saying, daughter. They have very short roots. They have long thread-like stem. This is the thread-like stem that I was referring to. It is all stem. This entire yellow color is all stem, right? And because they do not have leaves, they do not even have chlorophyll on their stem, they're unable to make their own food. And the rapid pace at which it grows, it requires a lot of nutrition. That's the reason why whenever possible, it hooks on its hostelria to the host plant and derives its nutrition from there.
Ma'am,
Yes,
how do they
Priscilla.
get the yellow color?
They have a pigment, the yellow color comes from a pigment. When you would go to higher classes, you would find out that every plant, be it algae, fungi, whatever, there are certain pigments in them which lends them the particular color. For example, if it is, there's this pigment
And
called,
plastics, ma'am.
yes, of course. That is, if they have something called a cyanoglobin, right? If the cyanoglobin, maybe they'll be a little reddish purplish in color. Maybe if it is anthocyanin, it would give a different color, right? So the different pigments lend different colors to plants, fungi, and to the entire plant kingdom, right? Now, going to mistletoe. Sorry, this is not misty toe, this is mistle, M-I-S-T-L-E. Right? Please get the spelling correct. It is mistletoe. I'll just write it in the public chat here. It is mistletoe. So mistletoe is another, parasitic plant where this is mistletoe here. Okay. Now in mistletoe, what happens is that this is the host plant, right? You can't even see a single leaf of the host plant. I mean, of course, it had leaves. That's the reason why it was growing. It could do photosynthesis. But maybe because of the season, the leaves are not visible. But this green color, that you see here are bunches of mistletoe here. Now, many of you could ask me a question that they are green in color, they have green color leaves, so why do they can make their own food, they have chlorophyll, that means why do they still have to depend on another tree, right? Now the answer to
Ma'am,
that
I
is
think they don't have stomata.
they have stomata, they have, if they are green in color, they would have plastids, they would have chloroplasts, they would have stomata, but the only thing is that they are partially parasitic. Unlike, Cuscuta, which was completely parasitic, mistletoe is partially parasitic. They can make their own food, but it derives its water and minerals from the host. See, if a mistletoe grows on the stem and the branches, will it get the soil? It
No.
will no, it will not get the soil. So from where will it get nutrients? It will get sunlight, it will get carbon dioxide, but from where will it get the water and the nutrients? So for that reason, it draws the water and the minerals from the host plant. Correct? So it makes its own food, but it requires water and minerals from the host plant. So it draws the, minerals and water, and then it makes its own food because it's not in direct contact with the soil. Correct? So this is why we call mistletoe a partial parasitic plant. Karthik, your question is, ma'am, when any plant having very less chlorophyll, ma'am, will it grow or it will die? It will, the growth, it will not die. Of course, it will not die because if it has got very less chlorophyll, it will grow at a lesser pace, right? And it depends on how much chlorophyll, because if it has very less chlorophyll, Karthik, that means it has got some kind of a deficiency. Maybe it has got less of nitrogen, or maybe less of fluorine. That's the reason why there's a disease called chlorosis. You know, it is CHLOROSIS. There's a disease called chlorosis, where the leaves are less green and more yellow. Less green and more yellow. So in that case, the plants start making less photosynthesis. And gradually what happens, the leaves turn yellow, and slowly, if it's not taken care of, if the proper nutrition, manure, fertilizer is not given to the soil, the plants will die over a period of time. Right?
Ma'am,
Yes, Priscilla.
Like in school we learned that money plant is a variegated plant. So our biology teacher had told us that it has some yellow parts and some green parts. So does it have a deficiency, or by nature it's like that?
No, it doesn't have a deficiency. By nature, it is like that. The other day, Priscilla, I don't know if you were there in the class when we were studying autotrophy. We were also studying, there are a few plants which look a little reddish brown in color. There are a few leaves which look a little purplish, a little, dark purple, dark brown, or maybe
Yes,
maroon,
ma'am.
pinkish, dark pinkish in color. But that doesn't mean that they don't have chlorophyll. They have chlorophyll. The chlorophyll is underlying the pigment. That is why I said the pigment, maybe the pigment green is suppressed and the red pigment is dominant. That's the reason why we see that it looks as if it's red in color, but they have chlorophyll in it. That's the reason why they make their own food. They don't make less food. They make the equal amount of food. Crotons. There's a lot of varieties of crotons which have very colorful, crotons is, 1P, right? Crotons are very colorful trees, coming in varieties of shapes, especially uh, green and yellow, reddish, green, varieties of color you will get. But that's what the dominant color is, something else, but underlying they all have chloroplasts and chlorophyll. So they make their own food. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah. So now going to the next portion, as I said, mistletoe, we are done with mistletoe. So it's partially parasitic. It has leaves. It has leathery green leaves. It can make their own food, but derives water and minerals from the host, right? Rafflesia, as many of you know about Rafflesia, that it is also a parasitic plant, but what does it have? You must have seen so many pictures of Rafflesia. Have you ever seen the stem, roots, leaves of Rafflesia? Any of you?
So, ma'am,
It is
but I
very,
just know that the plant is like 3 meters wide.
yeah, the span of the flower is 3 meters wide. It is the biggest flower in the world, on the planet, Rafflesia. Yeah. So, it doesn't have any roots or leaves virtually, if you see, it doesn't have any roots or leaves. But, what happens is that it clings onto a host tree. You will always find that wherever, a Rafflesia never grows independently. There is always a host, a broad and a mammoth host tree in and around. Yes, Karthik, there are several various types of Rafflesia, and the tropical countries have a lot of Rafflesia growth in Rafflesia. Profound species are found in the tropical countries.
ma'am,
Now what? Yes.
ma'am, can it be that few plants have yellow pigment, but they still carry photosynthesis?
Yes, that's what I was discussing. That because if they are not a parasitic plant, then they are doing photosynthesis. That means the prominent color there is yellow, but depends from which plant you're talking about, which species you're talking about. It depends, because there are a few plants which are white in color or yellowish white in color, and they lack chlorophyll. But there are a few crotons which are, dotted and spotted yellow and green. We feel that itna come green. How will it do photosynthesis? But it does good amount of photosynthesis. That's why they say you have to put crotons in broad daylight. It requires a lot of sunlight to make photosynthesis because there's a lot of yellow pigment, the green pigment is lesser maybe, so it requires a lot of sunlight, right? So Rafflesia, you will find that, all of a sudden you will only, what do you want to note down, Karthik? These points, the 3 examples, you can note it down. Yes, you can note it down because these are just the crux that I'm sharing, the speciality of these parasitic plants. You can note it down, so if you just have a look, it will be at the top of your head. Okay, so Rafflesia, you would find that, all of a sudden you would just find the bloom. Bloom as in you would just find the flower, right? All of a sudden somebody would just find a bud and the flower. But it is hard to find the stem or the leaf or the root or whatever. But, there it is. It does have, the main body part, of course, is there. It resides within the host plant, from where it draws its food and nutrition, plants, minerals, water and everything. What it exposes is just the floral part. The flower of Rafflesia is just distinct. No, Cuscuta does not have leaves. Cuscuta does not have leaves. It just has, the stem. That's the reason why if it had leaves Unmana, then it could have done photosynthesis. It does not have leaves. That's the reason why it has to depend on some other tree which has got green leaves. Okay. Now, any doubt on parasitic plants, or should we go to the next portion?
Then what is crotons actually?
Crotons is a variety of plant. People who do gardening would know it is a decorative kind of a plant, ornamental plant. Crotons are basically ornamental plant. So they look nice. That's the reason why they are known as ornamental plants. They are a little colorful. They come in varieties of, shapes and sizes, a little twisted, curly, broad leaves, reddish, brownish, and all kinds of colors. You can just do a Google search and, maybe check what I mean by crotons. I'm sure all of you must have seen crotons. It's just that you don't know the name, but all of you must have seen. Yes, Unmana, they have very colorful leaves.